Kiran Maestri. Welcome to our podcast series. Each week, we engage with CEOs and senior leaders and delve into transformative dynamics of today's workforce. The idea is to generate an authentic and real world content that resonates with professionals across different industries, offering them both an insight as well as practical insights for their personal and professional development. On that note, I'm pleased to be joined by Mr. Anant Roongta, who is the CEO of Famous Studios. Anant, welcome. I'm pleased to join you and welcoming you.
Thank you very much, for having me here. And a big hello, good morning on a Monday to all the viewers.
Anant, you know what? This is one of the interviews which I was really excited. As I said before, like I'm very much used to interviewing technology leaders, but you're one of the industry that I never have not too much of insights or knowledge, and I'm sure pretty of a lot of viewers as well. So such an amazing opportunity for them to know in terms of your about your industries, in terms of technologies that are playing, and also about your leadership, your culture. So we'll get into many such topics, and of course your learnings as well, right? I mean, it's so on that note, Anant, I know when I looked at your profile, you're one of those Famous Studios, one of the leading media and entertainment company in India, right? If I'm right, you're the third generation in this industry.
That's correct. Yes.
So just can you please talk us through, Anant, in terms of your journey, what made you kind of to become an entrepreneur, and how you being the third generation, what's your purpose? And I just wanted to understand about you and yourself and your company in detail.
So I think to put context, it's very important to speak about the history of Famous Studios.
Yes.
So it was established in 1946. So we're into our 78th year as a company, still very relevant, and offering end-to-end content-led services for the entire industry. So anyone who wants to produce audiovisual content, we play a major role in that process. So the story goes, my great-great-grandfather, he moved to Bombay from Rajasthan in the late 1800s during the British rule. And he really went about setting up different businesses around jute trade and stock trade. And there was multiple, like trading was a very big thing, at the time. And I come from a Marwari background, Marwari family from Rajasthan. So it's very typical for a Marwari businessman, from that generation to be a trader, trading goods and kind of just focusing on profits. That's just usually how the dynamics work in our family businesses. So what had happened was before the partition, the land of Famous Studios, which is in the Mahalakshmi part of Bombay, which is close to the race course, it was owned by a Muslim gentleman by the name of Shiraz Ali Hakim. Okay. And he had taken a loan from my great-great-great-grandfather, and in collateral, he had put this land of Famous Studios as collateral. So just to put into context, there was no plan of ever getting into this industry. Okay. It so happened that he was unable to repay the loan, and he moved to Pakistan during the partition.
Okay.
And inadvertently, this parcel of land, which was unbuilt at the time, came to my grandfather, to my great-great-grandfather. And what happened was, when he got the blueprint of the construction, it was already, it was already mentioned there, okay, the plan was to build this into a film studio. So he didn't think twice. He actually continued the construction, built it, and that's how Famous Studios started. Okay. He entered the business with zero knowledge about films. Okay. But he did a lot of homework. He studied. He realized that maybe at that time, certain things like setting up an air-conditioned studio would be a big benefit. So he basically set up the studio, and studio number 1, which is our main studio, became Asia's first air-conditioned studio. And that itself was a big win for actors, for the backstage artists, as we call them, producers, etc. It became a place to go and chill and to hang out, because उस समय घर पे there were no air conditioning or there was no TVs or whatever, at that time. So they used to just come and sit inside the studio even if they had no work to do. And this also happened with many actors. They used to just come, sit there for a couple of hours, ठंडा हवा खाने आते थे, and then they were out, even though they didn't have a call time or whatever. So it started like that. And gradually, he started building the business. He then entered into set construction. So all the old yesteryear films, the black and white films, all the different song sequences or anything, we basically started working on designing these POP, plaster of Paris sets for backgrounds, which today is all digitally replaced with chroma and visual effects technology. Started that. We then imported India's first film camera, okay, into the country from the US. It was a company called Mitchell. So Mitchell used to make these hand crank film cameras. The
Got
set
it.
of
Yes.
modifier to do that for the film to roll, and then it used to capture the images, which was then converted into a video.
That was during 1970s, or is it?
No. Well
Is it
before that. Talking
well
about
before that, is it? Okay.
1950s,
Oh, wow. Okay.
late 1950s.
Okay.
And then my grandfather decided that he wanted to enter the film production side of the business. So he partnered with this legendary cinematographer. His name was Fali Mistry. Okay. And together they produced a couple of films, and one of the movies was with Devanand Saab at the time. Yeah.
Okay.
Also, that time, my grandfather started, becoming more and more popular in the industry. He started spending time with a lot of other personalities. He then was a two-time president of the Indian Motion Picture Association, which is still an organization that's run very successfully. And today, also as a producer, if you don't have an IMPA membership, you can't release a film. That's basically the rule, how it works. And eventually, the business picked up the studio side. We entered the camera rentals business through my grandfather. And then in the 70s, we launched a film processing laboratory where you would go on set, you would shoot on the celluloid negative. But then, if you need to release the movie and distribute it across theaters, you need a film processing lab to convert the negative. The sound and the video negative were two separate, used to be merged into what was called the print. Okay. So print, another technical word for the print was a positive. So negative became two negatives became one positive. And that positive print was then distributed to multiple theaters. And then obviously the consumer or the film enthusiast would go to the cinema to watch the film. And the print was playing in the old projection systems, the real.
Got it. Yes.
So we had that business for about 12, 15 years. And then India went through a major economic slump, and the film industry tanked. Okay. And that was a very, very challenging time for my grandfather and my father, who was then entering the business, in the late 70s, early 80s, to take on that challenge to really um, shut that part of the business down. So the laboratory had to shut down. We faced a lot of issues with labor because at that time, when you were running a laboratory, you're basically working with a lot of liquids, and those liquids are basically somewhere harmful chemicals. So it fell under the Labor Act. Any
Okay.
employee would be there would be actually a labor. So we
Okay.
ran the risk of unionization, etc., etc. Eventually, that did happen. We had to face that worst fear, but eventually we were able to shut it down. We got an NOC from the labor department, and then that business was shut. And we then got into post-production because the digital technology started coming in. The film industry revived, and even the TV commercials advertising business really picked up because all of a sudden, you had all these private TV channels, the Z's of the world, Star Game, etc., etc. The TV broadcast side really picked up. There was a big broadcast boom at the time. So slowly, one after the other, in 1985, we had applied to the Information Broadcast Ministry to secure a license to set up a video services business, which in other words is post-production. So, in our studio, we still have that approval letter from the INB Ministry of 1985, saying that, Famous Studios has been given the right to set up a video services business. That's how the post-production revolution started in India. We were the first company to actually launch a one of a kind under one roof facility where we offered camera for hire. We had our studio facility and the post-production. So the producers who were at that time having their offices in our main building in Mahalakshmi, all they had to do was come down, use all the facilities, turn their project around from a storyboard script to a final audio visual, and push out the tapes or the prints to the broadcasters to eventually push the advertising commercial out. That's how it used to work at the time. So Famous in the 1980s, late 80s, early 90s became the mecca of advertising. All the big agencies, all the big producers, for example, like a Prahlad Kakkar, who's a legendary ad man, all of their production houses were at Famous. They used to be there like day and day out, etc., etc. Eventually, we launched a state of the art sound mixing and recording facility. The gentleman who came and designed the studio also had designed the Abbey Road Studios in the UK, which is the famous recording studio where the Beatles used to perform. Okay.
Yeah.
So we gave him the entry into the India market. Okay. Then we opened an animation studio in 1998 where we used to work on stop motion, clay animation, 3D animation. So the gentleman who partnered with my father at the time, Mr. Suresh, he's now become he's like the father of animation now in our country. If you look him up, you'll know how popular he is. He spent about 9 or 10 years with us, built the animation business, and then he moved on to set up his own business. So it was a very, very interesting ride. Then there was a time when film as a technology, celluloid as a technology, went out and the digital age came in, the digital cameras came in. That itself was a big change. A whole host of reintroduction, reinvestment had to happen in the technology we already had in audio and video. So there was a huge investment that went back into the company. At the same time, the talent pool grew, started training talent on new technology, started building different businesses. And by the early 2000s, we became a very, very strong name to contend with. And almost every segment of the industry was coming to Famous to process content, whether it was broadcast, TV commercials, or film at that time. Then obviously there was a string of competitors who came in. Okay. They started opening studios in different parts of the city. So that became very competitive because most of the production houses, talent, etc., started coming into Bombay from different towns. Okay. It was not just an industry that was led by people that were originally from Bombay. People started coming in from West Bengal, from North, from South, from different places, and they really started building the film industry and taking it to the next level. So our competition got wind of that. They understood and they started setting up other post-production VFX facilities in other different parts of town, in Andheri, in Bandra. And that's when the challenges for us really started growing. Talent that was with us for a long period of time started moving to these new companies because they were offering something more exciting, right?
Got it.
That's when we really felt or faced our first bout of competition in the mid 2000s. I entered the business in 2009 and I saw this was happening. And that was a time, as I mentioned earlier in our conversation, that things were very stale in the market. So what we did was we took that jump and we invested in some property in another part of town. We set up a post-production and visual effects facility there. And obviously that added to some relevance that, okay, Famous has also moved out from the main studio and they have now come to this part of town. And our business again started picking up because we were very close to our clients. The reason why I keep mentioning the geographical angle, you see, when a client comes into the studio, he's spending 6 to 8 hours a day sitting with our talent to process the content. It's not like he's giving us a call and saying, oh, I'm sending you the hard drive. Please ingest the data, start working on it and send it back to me. Every shot and frame has a deep creative meaning output to it. unless and until the director or the cinematographer does not sit with our talent, they will not be able to deliver the content to the brand or to the main producer on time, because they also have to put their creative input into the edit or the visual effects or the sound mix or the color grading that happens. It's all part of the post production process. Eventually, as I mentioned, things became stale. I got really, really frustrated with the business. And I told my father that, look, I need to step away from this comfort zone and go into an industry that I'm passionate about, but I don't know anything about the logistics. So, Fanatic Sports, which is the company that I joined as a partner, me and my cousin brother, we share a passion for sports. We share a passion of making sure that today, if we are taking a fan to watch an India-Pakistan match or a FIFA World Cup match, that they get the best seats in the house
Hmm.
and they enjoy the experience of those 2 hours or those 8 hours. But the logistics of offering that experience, we had zero idea. Hotel bookings, transport, transfers, flights, this, that, all the 10 different things that we had to build a base and get partners from different countries where these events were happening. That was the biggest challenge that we faced, which over the course of 2, 3 years, we were able to reach some level where
Hmm.
eventually we started offering really unique experiences to our customers. And, I would say that me and my cousin brother, we both had our own positives and negatives, but we were able to get clarity on that. So he took over certain things that he was good at. I took over certain responsibilities that I was good at. So I took over the responsibility of, for example, the whole customer experience, the customer journey while they were experiencing that event. I used to try and curate that, and deliver that experience to the customer. And majority, most out of 8 out of 10 times, they were really happy and they would recommend us to other people. Oh, we went to the ICC Champions Trophy to England with Anant and Fnatic. I highly recommend that you guys at least take a quote from them for the next Cricket World Cup or for the next IPL or whatever it is, right? So that gave me a lot of confidence. And as I mentioned, in 2018, the media industry completely flipped for the benefit. And I came back in and launched many, many initiatives. So, for example, in the main property we have in Mahalakshmi, we converted around 20,000 square feet of space into co-working spaces. So we
Okay.
have our own brand of co-working spaces called Famous Working Company, around 350 odd seats right now. And we have around 12 to 15 startups across different industries that are working from them, you know. So that was a call that we took and it was a successful decision. We started entering the creative and production side of advertising with new technology, with new cameras, with new specialized tools. And now we work very closely with the likes of Hindustan Unilever, Pepsi, ITC. We produce TV commercials for them, but with a very strong creative angle. So when we take on the project, we're offering an end-to-end solution, not just the edit, but from production all the way till the final delivery. The client trusts us with the responsibility, and we work on at least 3 to 4 projects a month, in addition to all the other legacy post business that comes from other production houses. That project was very successful that we launched in 2018. Then 2019, we basically building that business. We entered the film and long format side of the business again, which we had not done for about 15 years, and started picking up work from clients like Hotstar, Netflix, etc., etc. We forged a couple of very, very good international relationships and partnerships with new tech companies where they were to physically set up labs of their tech in our studio in Bombay as a generic India push. So we convinced them that your India lab should be in Bombay at our facility because we always had this additional infrastructure that could be leveraged by them and also the people visiting the lab for demos and things like that, for future tech. Unfortunately, COVID hit in 2020 March
Hmm.
and they all pulled out of that commitment. COVID was a very, very challenging yet fascinating experience, both from a personal front, from a professional front. But the best part about COVID is we at not one point also did not pay our people salaries. We were able to maintain a certain
It's amazing.
salary thing. Yes, there were out of those 24 months of COVID, there were about 6 or 7 months that we had to cut it down by 50%. But pro rata, we were able to eventually pay them all back on time, which was a very, very big
Would you say that is one of if your defining moment in your leadership style?
100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I would also say another very, very big challenge that came to us was in Bombay, the cases went through the roof, and so did everywhere across the country. Um, because we have a large space in town, open space of around, like open indoor space of around 20,000 square feet for the studio, etc. The BMC, which is the municipal body in Bombay, they approached us saying that we would like to take over your studio as a containment center for
Okay.
patients. So if that would have happened, that would have destroyed our business completely. Okay. So that is something that I was able to challenge or take on from a personal standpoint in a very, very calm manner with the authorities. And we came to an agreement that our place was eventually not fit to hold patients, you
Mm.
know. So that was a 3 to 4 week sleepless nights where
Mm.
if they would have made that a containment zone, we would have been in deep trouble. I mean, our business would have just tanked even after opening of the, you know, things opening up after COVID. So that was a major challenge. And I took on that challenge myself. I did not involve my father because he already reached an age of 75. I was like, I don't want you to take a risk. Let me go
Mm.
and put myself out there. We'll see what happens. What's the worst that'll happen? I learn from it, number one. And number two, if they take it for 6 months, let them take it. It's fine. It's not a big deal. So those challenges were there, definitely. Also, remote working because tech-led
Mm.
company, how is it that you can have, if certain work has to happen, how is it that artists sitting from their own homes can continue working for clients? That also we were able to successfully, manage. That all worked out really well. And then, yeah, after COVID left, it's just been completely crazy. We set up a third facility in Bombay where I'm sitting from right now for the film business. It's been about 14 months since we launched that facility. We've already worked on some big blockbuster films, as I mentioned, Animal, having that recognition of a Filmfare nomination as well. In 14 months, I never expected that we would reach that level so quickly, you know.
Mm.
So that really builds a lot of trust within the industry. And personally, obviously, I've entered a phase where I'm trying to build relations with industry folk and trying to build a team that is very robust so that they can take over the day-to-day operations while I can actually step out of the office and actually get business for them in a plate. Ki, guys, here it is. Now I need you to deliver, and 6, 7 months back, we opened a facility in Hyderabad and for visual effects. And now we're just looking at 2 or 3 new business ideas that we would like to launch in the second half of this calendar year.
It's a very important, Anand, that you recognize the fact, right? As a leader, you need to create more leaders, so you get more
Yeah,
buying time, and
absolutely.
you focus on your strategic part of the things. And by
Yes.
the way, I really love the evolution, and what I learned from that is the adaptability is the key, right? Decade after decade after decade, there was so many things were happening, but you kind of, as a family business, you adapted, and now
Yeah.
you being the third generation, now you're adapting to the tech-led business because you understood what are the shortcomings were and why you were losing talent to
Yeah.
competitions, and you kind of bridge that gap in terms of taking your business to a tech-led, right? On
Absolutely.
that note, I wanted to understand your take. Generative AI is kind of literally is coming, and it is really it has a profound impact on the way we live and work.
Sure.
So I just wanted to understand how is generative AI kind of disrupting in the media industry, and what kind of talent or skills that is required to scale your business for growth.
Okay. So yeah, this is obviously a very, very controversial topic in our industry, but it's coming. Okay. Generative AI is going to eventually eliminate repetitive tasks.
Yes.
Put it in very simple format. It is not going to replace creativity. For AI to do something for you, you have to train it. You have to train the bot on whatever platform it is, whether it's GPT or whatever. You have to train the bot. Now the thing is, talent that is existing there in the industry, it's not that difficult for them to take a quick crash course on AI, understand the benefits. Not only will it allow them to remove the repetitive tasks of their day-to-day lives in their skill set or whatever, but it will give them the time to upskill also,
Yes.
right? Now, the generation that's currently working has absolutely no idea about AI. So they will have to upskill, because the next generation that is currently in tech school or in business school or in even our media entertainment institutions, they are going to already come out with the knowledge of AI, because that is going to be part of the curriculum.
Yes.
So that challenge is 100% going to be there, and is going to get even more challenging over the next 12 months. But there is a solution to that challenge. If you upskill and you learn about AI, automatically you will still stay relevant in the industry. You don't need to worry about AI taking over. AI is not going to take over. It's going to be a catalyst to provide better efficiencies. Now, very simple
Got it.
thing. Today, I have, say, 8 or 9 different business functions. Every business has 8 functions: marketing, sales, finance, whatever. I want to take a course in AI, even if it's a 3-day course, to understand, can I use AI to ease my day-to-day business functions, marketing, communications, systems and processes, legal, HR, whatever. Can AI help me in that? So once I get an understanding, yes, maybe I won't have to eliminate anyone, okay? But those day-to-day tasks which are there, if that technology can take over and do it, I can get my team to do something better. I can tell them, guys, stop wasting your time and all this rubbish. Spend 2-3 hours a day looking at the future. What is it that we can do? Any ideas? Do research on other people, go on LinkedIn, spend time, whatever, right? So you need to understand AI is a tool that will help solve repetitive tasks. Okay.
Got it.
But for creativity, you still have to give it a command. And the command that you give, it is, again, AI is based on a certain platform. So GPT, for example, it will basically pull out information from the internet through
Yeah.
machine learning and maybe give you a solution. But creatively, you still need to creatively make your script, your story. How will AI can't do that? Because every creativity is a very subjective thing. Today, I might like a film, but you might think it's rubbish, right? But the guy who's made the film has got a certain idea about the film and the kind of message he wants to put out. So AI can't think that, right? AI will only respond to what command you give it.
So it's a great that when it comes to creativity, the job is there, but what you're
Yeah.
suggesting is upskill, upskill. On that note, Anant, wha- from your culture standpoint, right? I would love to understand the culture of your company.
Yeah.
How are you what kind of development programs do you have in place for your existing workforce to upskill, or perhaps what kind of skill sets that you think you're looking for as you aspire to be taking your business to growth?
Yeah. So I'll be honest, because we are not a corporate organization, okay, it's a
Yeah.
family-run company. Usually, the development of our individuals in our company have all happened because we have thrown them in the ocean. They're being circled by sharks. It's as simple as that.
Got
Okay.
it. Okay.
You can create as many development programs, you can call as many motivational speakers, you can call as many professional trainers to your company. Unless and until that particular individual does not have the hunger to learn, they will not learn. It's
Okay.
very easy to say, oh, today is an HR day, and today we've got 3 people coming from outside to train you and do this and that. Trust me, 100 people in that room, there'll be only 5 or 6 of them who actually want to juice it out.
Okay.
So what we do is we have a different program for management, and
Okay.
we have a different program for talent. Okay. And our program is what? Today, we will identify the management level person, how much responsibility he or she is able to take. Okay. If we see that he or she is able to take the responsibility, we call them in. We say, look, you've done really well at what you've done. These are the few areas that we would like you to improve. But at the same time, are you willing to take on this challenge also?
Okay.
We throw them to the wolves. Okay. Go out there, get abused. We don't give a shit. But always remember, if you have the intent to perform, I will be the first one to back you in front of the client. And I have repeatedly done that on multiple occasions in the last 12 months.
Good.
Our guys might have screwed up. Everyone makes mistakes. There is oversights that happen. But end of the day, I've always backed my team and said, don't worry, it's okay. Mistakes happen. Get back to the client and reply to them like this or speak to them like this. So खुद ही ठंडा हो जाएंगे. You know, there's a way of getting things done. So for the management, it's that. For creative and delivery of projects, the technical talent, the artists, what we do is our creative directors are so strong, they know exactly what new technology is coming in. So what they do is they'll slowly start adding those new technologies, the new softwares on the production floor. And it's basically a very simple logic of monkey see, monkey do. Today, if an artist is working on a particular software which he's comfortable with for the last 5-10 years, all of a sudden he'll see another guy working on a new technology. He will ask him, oh, what does this do? How is this working? Automatically, that 1 becomes 10, becomes 15, becomes 20. Out of those 20, there will be 4 or 5 guys who will graduate to the new technology. But there will also be some people who will not. So for them, we try and get them into a room. We explain to them the benefits of the new technology. This is what it's going to do. This is how the market is moving ahead. Some of them choose to learn. Some of them don't choose to learn. The guys who don't choose to learn, it's their downfall. And the guys who learn, they move ahead with the company. It's as simple as that. It's not rocket science at all.
No,
But
yeah.
yeah, but the important thing is me as a director, CEO, whatever, my creative directors who I trust in their vision and the management, I make sure that they are all apprised or they are up to date with the new technology. So today, my creative director might come and say, look, Anant, these are the 3 new technologies. I'm trying it out. He'll send me a couple of R&D videos. I'll show it to my team members. So that learning I take from him. Okay. But when it comes to management and about how the industry is progressing, then they depend on me because I'm reading articles, I'm meeting people. They are talking about what is the percentage growth in different segments of the industry, etc., etc. I've got the time to socialize and meet people, how they're building their businesses. So I learned 10 things there, which I can come back and share with my team members. So they learn. I try and expose them to new ideas, new technology. Guys, look at this. This is the future. It's a question of discipline and consistency. If you consistently expose them over a period of 6 months to new stuff, automatically they'll start thinking in a different direction. They will start taking a different road. Otherwise, they're all very parallel thought. Oh, I'm comfortable in my space. I don't want to think outside the box. Once that sets in, boredom sets in, and you start getting frustrated with yourself and you start blaming other people because you've not taken that step of going beyond your own role or your own capability.
Journey, and that can lead to disengagement as well, right? If they and in fact, to be honest, Anant, the employee engagement has been one of the key topic, right? You see, I mean, the data points clearly shows that in India, almost 67% of the employees are disengaged.
Correct.
And what kind of what is your take on it, and in what ways you at your organizations, right, you're ensuring that your employees are engaged? As you rightly point, you have programs for your creativity, for management. How are they ensuring that your employees are engaged?
Very classic. Okay. We're not doing anything special. Okay. It's very important for people to know that you don't need to do something special to keep your guys engaged. One thing is birthdays, extremely important. We cut a cake for everyone's birthday and we try and call everyone into the conference room or wherever to celebrate. 2, if a team performs well, or we know that a big project is released, they've really worked their ass off, I take the initiative and randomly say, like at 6 in the evening, guys, we're going out for dinner and drinks. Cancel everything in the night, whatever plans you had. From 8 to 12, we're just going to party.
Yes.
So for them, when I'm there with them and I have that relationship with them, it's a very liberating feeling. You know, that okay, our efforts have been recognized. Even something as simple as taking them out for a dinner and drinks means a lot. Third, we keep an annual Diwali get together, which is mandatory. Fourth, in the last 1 year, we started engaging with sports. So we had this annual cricket tournament last year, and we plan on doing it again in March this year. Fifth, the senior management for me, which is very important. We've decided that once every 6 months, we take them on an overnight retreat, anywhere
Okay.
close by, yeah, where we spend 2 to 3 hours in strategy, 2 to 3 hours in joint games, and then the rest of the time we're just chilling and hanging out. So this is something that in the previous generations of the business, no one ever did it. And for example, dad doesn't believe in it only, but that's okay. That's his mindset from his time. For me, I know if I have to retain talent, I have to push myself beyond what he had done at his time to keep them, right? So whether he likes it or no, honestly, I couldn't care less. Yeah. And I'm again saying this very brutally. In a father-son relationship, these disagreements happen. Couldn't care less. He can howl, shout, whatever he wants. I know for a fact that if I have to retain talent, and you see, majority of talent that's with us, they're younger than me.
Yes.
My seniors are older, but 80%, 60% of the guys working here are younger than me. If I don't come to that age level in terms of how they perceive engagement, they are not going to stay. Simple. So yeah, very, very simple ways of getting them engaged. Also, we try and participate in many trade shows now where we sponsor. So we try and create a buzz. We push them. The guys come. Famous is there. Your company is there. They're sponsoring. I might be talking on stage or I might be in a panel discussion, whatever. At least come and experience it. They also feel proud that, oh, our company is out there, amongst others. They're doing this, they're doing that. So the point is, there are different small ways of doing it. There's to be a touch. I'll give you an example. When we delivered Animal and the film released, we organized a cake with the poster of Animal printed on top of the cake. Okay. There were 50 or 60 artists here. They called me into the room. Arey Anand sir, aa jao, cake katna hai. So they give me the knife. I said, no, I'm not cutting this cake. Who's the youngest artist here who has worked on this project? So they all look in shock. So they all pointed this one boy. I gave him the cake. I'm like, you are going to cut this cake because it's your hard work, your days and nights that you've spent to deliver the project. You do the honor of cutting the cake. So that gesture was so big for him. Like he was too overwhelmed. I stepped back and I gave a 2-minute speech congratulating everyone, whatever. And I stepped back. I said, cut your cake. It's your moment. You guys need to enjoy it. And I just slowly backed off and I came back to my room. I was like, tum log enjoy karo. So it's very important to put your team first.
Yes.
Many people will hog the credit for something because they are owners, but the actual work has been done by your team, boss. If you don't show that side, that empathy to your team members, what good are you as a boss?
And I
Simple.
think these are brilliant, and I really love that moment, and I think it's you mentioned a couple of great points there, leading from the front,
Yeah.
right? Recognizing your team first, not
Hmm.
taking your own limelight. On that note, I know you also mentioned a point during COVID times, you had to take a few people, you had to take some tough decisions, but I could see, and since then, since 2022, you bounced back. And
Yeah.
I believe I've seen like you've grown by almost 40% from an
Yes, we have.
employee
Yeah.
growth standpoint as well, right? So well done to you from a leadership standpoint. So what advice you would give to leaders who are kind of growing their team?
Yeah.
Have any wisdom or insights you want to share?
I would say over the course of my learnings in the last 5 years at Famous, I think it's very important for you, in terms of leadership, to focus on 3 to 4 areas,
Mhm.
which you can achieve 100% and you're able to give your time to it. What happens is ideas are there everywhere, okay? But which of those ideas do you feel you can convert into reality? And you have to give it some kind of a timeline. So it goes like this, okay? Example, today I am at this level. I want to be at this level. Once you identify in your mind that this is your want and your
Yeah.
need, then you need to work backwards. How are you going to achieve that? Whether it's logistics, whether it's people, whether it's investment, variable costs, whatever. And the most important thing is the time. When do you want to achieve that? And you
Mm.
have to work backwards and get it done. Okay. So that's one. And I don't like this word advice. I would rather say it's an experience share. Okay. A lot of people are there to give gyan. I don't like giving gyan. So this is an experience I had with a couple of my own projects. I have tried 5 or 6 different expansion projects, but only 3 have succeeded. But
Mm.
it happens, right? I mean, there's a whole point of entrepreneurship that you are going to fail in some, you'll have wins in some. But those 3, they all went off on time. The other 3 didn't happen because the timing was all over the place. The people who needed to lead that team were not capable enough. There could be multiple reasons. Or funds were not there at the time. Kuch bhi ho sakta hai, right? That's one important thing. Second, the 3 focus areas that you might have, your core team of management has to buy into that.
Yes.
You feel anywhere that they have not bought into it or they're just nodding their head because you are saying it, immediately stop or replace that person with someone else or get someone else who can drive that business for you. The second experience I've had where I've had major issues with management changes in the last 1 year, where they have come and said, we'll do this, we'll do that, but they've actually somewhere not been able to achieve that. And the same level of work ethic has not been there with them, you know?
Yes.
Yeah. And what happens in that is the leader of the business or the entrepreneur, he lands up wasting time, wasting money and resources because you're continuously paying that person to do that job, but they're not actually doing anything. So that the core team has to be very, very strong. And the third thing, very important, continuous learning and development. This is a very, very understated point. If you don't step out of your office and your work environment once every quarter for 3 days to learn something new, भले तुमको AI सीखना है, AI जाके सीखो. Or you want to take a leadership class from a business coach, go do that. Turn your phone off for 2 days and go out of town just to re-energize and to figure out what is it you want to do next. People don't do that.
I think these are very, very important point.
Learning, yeah. Learning
And
and development is something I have experienced ever since COVID. Extremely important. And after COVID, things have moved so quickly. Tech, and especially like we also, end of the day, 80% of our business is technology, right? Tech moves every 6 months. If you are not going to move ahead of it, then it's the end of it.
you made that interesting point. Learning and development is really, really under kind of invested, right? And I think, in fact, I would go to an extra and spend 30 minutes of your time learning something new every day, each day.
Absolutely.
Right.
That's what you
And
should
it's
do.
very, very important. You need to stay ahead of your competition and you own your own development. You own your own career path. I mean, these are amazing insights, Anant. And finally, is there any wisdom that you want to share to our viewers before we close it off? But really, it's
No, I
been very
mean, I'm
insightful.
still learning. I'm still 37. I'm still learning. But yeah, I would just say that whatever you do, do it with 100%. Don't worry so much about the future. Instead of worrying about or being anxious about what's going to happen, make it happen. Plan it out. Have a timeline. Learn, grow your personality, develop your personality, professional, personal. Trust a certain group of people with
Yeah.
your problems, whatever. Don't feel afraid of sharing problems because people get so consumed in themselves. They feel like, oh, if I go out and talk to people, we'll be judged. Don't think that way. You know, life is very short and there's so much to achieve, right? We can only do that if we have a proper communication and we have discipline, consistency. Yeah, I think it's a very straightforward thing.
I mean, these insights are very valuable, Anant, and it's been an absolute pleasure discussing these insightful topics with you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you for
much.
joining us and sharing your journey at Famous Studios. We wish you and your team continued success.
Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Anant.
Thanks. And yeah, look forward to engaging with your viewers later. Anyone has any questions, I'm always available to, take them on and answer them. Yes.
No, brilliant. Thank you, Anant.
Thank you.